You fall asleep, so we need to get going here. Okay, for everybody that's in here, welcome to the April March Air Force Base Aero Club Safety Meeting. I'm Roger Mann, and I'm the safety officer. And Bob, who's up there standing up there handing out stuff, he's the Aero Club manager. And maybe we got a good portion of our instructors in here. We got John Law, we got Jerry Rollis. Let's see, who else? We got Fred, who can do checkouts. And let's see, we got David G. back there, who's our illustrious mechanic. He's the one that really keeps the airplanes going. Okay. While Bob is doing that, let me get started. We have a special guest tonight, so she's been up most of the day. And we want her to get up here and do a good presentation, but we'll quickly run through this. Okay, is there anybody that's new in the club that's here for their first time? No, I won't pick on you. Anybody's brand new? Nobody brand new. I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. Anybody that's gotten anything like the first time they've soloed? Has there anybody got a new pilot's license? Has anybody gotten an FAA violation? Anything like that? Crazy sakes, it's all, this is nothing going on.
Thank you, sir.
How about their medical? Got their medical back. Lost their medical. When was the last time anybody flew? Yeah, nobody's been flying this month because of the weather, I think.
Excuse me.
Okay, all right. So experiences. Now, I know George Watson's got a story here. George?
Huh?
Yeah. You have any experiences that you can share tonight?
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Oh. Golly. This concludes Air Force pilots. It can include Civil Air Patrol pilots. Anything that has to do with flying. Anybody wants to share? Speaking of new people, you guys just walked in. Why don't you stand up and introduce yourself?
Hi, Greg, this is my wife, Patty.
Hello.
Nice to join the Aero Club. Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the Aero Club. Give him a hand. Give him if you guys. Let's give our new members, at least that we don't just sit here and do nothing. Okay, experiences now. Anybody that has anything that's going on that they can share? Okay. This is what we usually do as a routine for you guys that's new. So, and if you got a new pilot's rating, or if you just got solo for the first time, or if you bought a new airplane, or anything like that.
I flew the Fallbrook plane for the first time, 182.
Oh, the 180. Oh, yeah.
It's exactly like all the other 182s.
That was it. Okay, yeah, because you turned in the time for me today. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Roger.
Yeah.
I convinced my wife to let me buy a handheld because the radios went out in 6 November, and she was worried that I wasn't going to get back on the ground.
Well, that's good.
Let me know if anybody else needs radios. I can do it again.
Yeah. I always highly recommend that you carry a portable radio with you in any rental airplane, and even in the one that you own if you have one. Art.
This is not an experience, but I have an airplane for sale where you can have half ownership. I'm almost willing to give it away. Now, with that statement, someone ought to ask me a little bit about it later on.
Okay.
It's a Beechcraft Bonanza, 1960, cruises 150 knots, goes 1,000 nautical miles. The only shortcoming is that it's getting close to changing the engine. But it's checking out. It has a about another 8 months, 7 months on the annual. And there you are.
All right. Okay. So those of you who are interested, the art's right
Give it
there.
away.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Stand on my head.
Wow. Hey, Janelle,
Not with me.
David, you guys can't go away. Oh, gee. Okay.
What do you ask for?
All right. We'll talk to your club manager, but Bob, we're going to skip you and have you do it later. We're going to have Heather get up and talk first before we do that. And then we have birds at March Air Reserve Base. You know, I didn't know that either, but we'll find out today or tonight that we do have birds here. And then we're at the end, after she does her presentation, then we're going to talk a little bit about the SOPs if we have any time left. Okay. All right. Is everybody okay? There's David and Janelle. Wow. Hi. All right. Okay. We're going to skip him. And what we're going to do, yeah, we have birds at March Field. Yes, we do. Heather Barker, she's the wildlife manager out here, and she has she's part of the bird strike control program. She's left some cards up here for those of you that are interested in getting a card from her. She's going to speak tonight, and let me go ahead and just start you on your program. It should go right into it. Okay, Heather.
All my slides are sort of dark, so you may want to kill one of these front lights if anybody knows where that is. Like you said, my name is Heather Barker, and I'm with Bird Strike Control Program. We're the BASH program here at March. So I take care of the entire airfield, and that includes you all and 3012. So I'm just going to kind of go through a little review of what we did, what I talked about the last time I was here. I'm going to break down the species of what we've hit in the past 6 months. There's some things that I've been doing in the past 6 months that I want to inform you guys about that are reducing the bird strikes that you guys have here, and thus your risk of having a strike. And just, I want to make you all aware of one of the bigger BASH risks that we have on the airfield, and I'll give you a little more detail about that in a few minutes. And then what's to come in the next quarter and the next couple of months through the summertime. So just to review, last time I gave you all a detailed description about what bird strike kits are, how to use them, what to do with them. So I'm just going to show you guys here what's in a bird strike kit. We have the FDA card, or FTA card, which is the DNA, and that little circle inside of there has a chemical that preserves DNA material, so you want to always put your DNA on there. And then you have an alcohol pad in it to get off those stuck residues of snarge, is what we like to call it in the business. It's the blood and guts, if you will. We also have a swab, so you don't actually have to touch it with your finger, and of course the gloves, and a plastic bag. So what you'll do is whenever you have that strike on your airplane, you'll take your swab, if it's usually dried by then. If it's not, you can skip the alcohol pad, but you'll take your alcohol pad, wet it down, then use your swab and apply that swab directly to the DNA card and press it down. And then you can put the alcohol pad, if it has DNA on it, with the snarge, and your FDA card and the swab into the small plastic baggie, fill out the paperwork, and if you'll return that to the 452nd Safety Office, there's a box outside the door on the flight line side. If anybody is interested on how to do this, I know he said there are some instructors here. If you would like to teach any of your pilots that you were instructing how to do bird strike, if you'd like to come and just have me talk to them, you can grab a card. I'm willing to do any of that. Doesn't matter if it's 10 or 1 person. I will come to you, come to your aircraft, and show you how to do it. All right, moving on. So what we've hit over the past 6 months, mainly small birds, and these are not only strikes here at March, but what our airplanes have hit all over. So this is everything. Mostly we've had horned larks. As you can see, lark in the first graph and horned lark are the same species. That's our big bird, and why that's such a common species that we hit here is because their preferred habitat. They prefer to live on the edges of runways and taxiways. They prefer the gravelly area. So I guarantee any field guide you look in, you'll see that they prefer airports, the edge of those taxiways and runways. Also, you guys know we have swallows here. I'm sure you've seen them out and about. I'll get to talking about those in a few more minutes, but they are here. And we've had swifts and hummingbirds. We hit a lot of bats if you do any night flying, and you're not sure that you may have hit something that is probably a bat. And then the unknown category, those are just, we're waiting to hear back from the Smithsonian. We will know what those species are. And that's the significance in collecting the bird strike and the snarge and whatnot. As we send that to the Smithsonian, they add that to a really big database, and thus we find out what it is that you hit and how we can prevent it based on the species.
What do larks like about runways?
They like the edges, they like the gravel, the broken up pea gravel. All birds, what they do is they pick up gravel and they put it in their gizzard,
right,
their gut area that they hold, and since they can't chew, they take that gravel and they swallow it and they grind it up in this gizzard, and that releases all the nutrients so they can absorb it. So this is what I call buffer zone harassment. Now there's 3 ways to know that you've had a bird strike. It's A, that form that you fill out as a pilot saying that I hit this bird, here's the DNA. On our larger aircraft we have maintainers that come in and they do that as well. Then the 3rd way is that I find a carcass on my rounds. So I find the actual bird laying on the runway or to the side of the runway. So the best practice methods stated by the FFA and, I always say that wrong, the FAA and the Bird Strike Committee of North America, they say that the best practice method is that the 3rd way is that within 250 feet of the center line, if there's a carcass, you can usually assume, unless there is some ulterior, clearly defined method of its death, then you can assume it was a bird strike. And I apply not only to runway 32, but also to runway 30, this buffer method 250 feet out from the center line. And most of those, it's usually up and down the entire length of the runway, but I focus on areas that I call the strike zones. And those are places that you guys touch down, because you're not going to hit a horned lark at 150 feet in the air. You're going to hit it when you're coming down, about to touch down. So those are considered strike zones. Some things that we've added to the airfield. Communication Squadron has been wonderful working with me. On these antennas that we have all over the airfield, you cannot apply a metal bird spike, you can't nail something into it. So we have these perches that are available to raptors all over the airfield, and so far we haven't been able to do anything about it. So we did some research and we found these cable ties and we installed them. They're plastic, they don't interrupt any of the signals, they're very inexpensive, and they work. They're not 100% effective, but they're better than nothing. So these have been applied to, this is the glide slope antenna that is in the southwest corner of the airfield, and we're going to be applying those to the rest of the antennas all over the airfield. And we also do have new windsocks, which I have a picture here. I just took a photo of the bird on the windsock simply because it was a very rare sight. The newer windsocks are shaped in a way that it's a little more difficult for them to stand. And this other picture here, is you'll see that the raptor is sitting at the very tippy top on the right-hand corner. Those cable ties have been applied all over there, so there's not much room else for it to sit. They used to sit there in the middle bars and those 3 levels that you can see. Now, when I say resident raptor, this is also another photo that exemplifies resident raptor. You can see that this bird has absolutely no fluffing of his feathers. He's not trying to take off as the C-17 passes him. So the resident raptors are well aware of what happens at our airfield, and they are very skilled at avoiding aircraft movements. Please forgive Sonic. So our resident raptors have a very high nest site fidelity, particularly to the glide slope. So this is one of the first years that we've been able to deter that nest site fidelity. We have the Communications Squadron guys again have gone up there and removed these nests over and over. At runway 30, there is a taxiway, right at taxiway Delta, there is a windsock that several raptors have tried to also build nests on. I'm so sorry, Mr. Mann. So we have been successful in removing all those nests. This actually was taken on the very same day. And by removing those nests every year, I'll take her. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay.
Oh.
By removing those nests every year, we will lower this nest site fidelity. They have a very strong succession every time they've been able to breed here, and they've had chicks and it's been successful, so they think to themselves, this is a great site. So next year they come back to that same site. So as we remove this and they have less succession, then they will move off to somewhere else where they do have a better nest successfulness. Now, the big thing that, if there's anything that you all take from this presentation today, I really want you to take home this. We have cormorants that fly in the evening here. If you've ever done any sunset flying, we have what looks like a goose and flies in a V-shaped formation across from Lake Paris to the Riverside Cemetery Ponds. So that is right over JPA, right over the ammo bunkers, and across 3-2, and it's in the 3-0 approach. So I want you to be very careful when you're coming in landing 3-0 at night, or you're taking off 1-2. Just look to the east, to the west, make sure your area is free. I know that you all are trained to do this, but this is an occurrence every night that we have this. It is 1/2 hour prior to sunset and 1/2 hour after sunset that they do this, because they forage daily on Lake Paris, so they fly here early in the morning before anybody sees them. And they come here, they eat all day long, and then at sunset they go back to the Riverside Cemetery Ponds where they roost for the night. So I just want to make you all very aware of this. And this is their path. Sometimes they don't go over JPA, sometimes they come down a little more towards the tower, or north a little more towards the tower. So just be advised, when you're flying near sunset, keep your eyes peeled. They will look like this V-shaped formation. Sometimes they'll just be 5 or 6, sometimes they'll be 75, so just keep your eyes open.
Just out of curiosity, how high do they generally fly?
They fly anywhere from 50 to 500 AGL feet above the ground level. They can fly higher, so just coming down, if you're in that time period, just always scan out. It's pretty quick too. They'll fly pretty quickly, so if you see them, just go up a little bit, go around one more time, and you'll probably be good to land. It lasts, once it starts, it lasts about 10 minutes, so it's just a matter of timing if you're going to be in that window or not.
If you're ready to fly formation, can you join them?
No, actually, good. I'm glad you asked that question. Whenever you are flying and you get near them, what they'll do is it scares them, so they back, but they're always going to come back around, get back together, and come across again. So just be aware and be cognitive that they're not just flying away because you've scared them. They're going to loop back around and come back. So if you're doing any of that cool flying, that the 2 aircraft that are camoed, and they do all the really cool stunts. I can't remember what the aircraft are called right now. Yeah, the 234s. To the folks that drive those or fly those, you're going to scare them away for just a minute, but they're going to regroup and come right back. And that probably happens in less than a minute, probably about 30 seconds. That'll happen.
Are those red spots bird stripes?
No, these are. I'm sorry. I'm glad you asked that question as well. Those red circles are actually the GPS location of where the flocks are coming across. I have a GPS tracker in my truck, and when I see them come over, I go and I move underneath their position, and I say how many are flying across, and then I take their position. So some towards the north I think those are probably the morning, because and that's just like 1 or 2 coming across, but as you can see, more of the angle there on the longer line, that's more of their flight path. Some come across really, really far south, right at the approach of 3-2, but most are centered right there in that JPA and ammunition area. Any other questions on cormorants? Because I want to make that really clear. Okay, great. And these are some of the examples. When you'll look around the airfield, you'll say, well, that's a really great perch for a bird. We are working on that. I just spoke with airfield management last week, and they have an order in for bird spikes. So we are working on getting all the whole airfield decked out so that perching birds will be reduced. We do have some things that, just due to all the construction, like if you see in the lower right-hand corner right here, there's a plastic bag over the bird spikes. So some things, especially right there at 3-0, where they've been doing all that construction going across, you'll see some orange cones. Birds are able to perch on those. So just whenever you're taking off or considering doing pattern work there, just glance around at those extra added things by construction that birds are able to perch on, just to look in your area. But we are working on getting all of that squared away with bird spikes. So what's to come in the next couple of months? We are entering into the passerin, which are songbirds. They're spring migration. And this is particular at night. They are actually night migrators. It can start in the early evening till morning. So if you're going to be doing some of that sunset flying, a lot of the swallows will pick up right there at the approach of 3-0 whenever they're going back and forth between those two grassy areas right at the approach. So just, you know, if that is occurring, you can always call the tower. I'm always out there till sunset, and I'll come and harass them with the Border Collie or the truck or whatever. If you ever see any birds on the runway and you're unsure, please just call the tower. They will radio me immediately. I will be there shortly and disperse whatever your concern is. So you are protected. Always just wait and hold your position until you feel like you're safe. And just to let you know what some of these species are, I pulled these species from previous strike logs in the past year, or the past 7 years. The species on the top right-hand corner is a cliff swallow. That's the swallow that you see over at the C-17 hangars, and they have the mud nests that are up in the roofs. Those are quite common, and they are very quick, and they're insectivores, so they're just darting around all over between that grassy area, particularly at 3-0 approach. There's we have a western tanager in the top left, followed by a Vox swift in the middle, and then on the bottom, on the far left, there's a Savannah sparrow, and then this is a Townsend's warbler here on the right. So these are all just common species that we have hit before. They're small, but for your all's aircraft, you know, they could be considerable. So just be advised, and let me know if I can do anything to help you all out there. And take a card. You can contact me by phone or email. And again, with those bird strike kits, I am always more than willing to come collect your strike for you, show you how to do it. Instructors, I will teach your students. Whatever I can do to help you all out. Okay. That's the end of it.
I have a question. A couple of years ago, we had here, or where I lived, a speaker who was talking about birds that were at the airport. No more birds chasing birds away. Is that gone?
Yes, the falcons are gone, but it's pretty much the same concept as the Border Collie. It's called predator harassment. So if the predator is a hawk or if the predator is a coyote, a dog, then it still works all the same way. And we also, even though we don't have the falcons that are, you know, controlled by humans anymore, we do have resident raptors, like I told you about earlier. So those are always an aerial threat that is present on the airfield. They work 24/7, and they are very hungry all the time.
Has your technique been equally as effective?
I believe it has. We have great success with this technique. So if you want any further information on my methods and their sufficiency at this airfield, Lieutenant Colonel Whitteman is kind of a...
Which is right back there?
Yeah, he's right back there.
Yes.
He's been here at the bash, heading the bash for several years, so he would be a great source for that information. Not to throw you under the bus.
That's all right. He's used to it. No.
I believe that our techniques are just as effective. We have great success, not only here, but at we've replaced several Falcon programs throughout the United States. We have great success everywhere we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
What about night-day bird strikes? I think I read that bird strikes at night are a lot more common. Do you have any data on that?
You know, I thought I put a slide in there. Right now, we're kind of even. I think we have just a few more a day, but those may be influenced from outside strikes, not just only at the base. You know, we have strikes in Hawaii and strikes in Arizona and whatnot. So most of our strikes, I would say it's 50-50 here, simply because we do have the hornlarks, which are very prevalent in most of our strikes, but then we also have a lot of bats that come through here. And I would say a good 25% of our night strikes are bats. Anything else? All right, well, thank you very much. Again, take a card. I'll answer any questions for you via email or cell phone. And you folks have a lovely meeting.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, for those of you that don't know where our bird strike kit is, this is a picture of our office. You recognize the back door and the simulator. And right back here is the big old bulletin board. And it's right there on the upper right-hand corner where I got the, can you see it up there? Right there. It's right up in that corner, and that's a close-up of it. And it'll be hanging right there, so if you do hit a bird, that's you need to do what the instructions of what she just told you is all inside this bag right there, and it tells you exactly what to do to get the DNA. This is something that we're required to do anytime you hit a bird, and that's how the big, Mark can explain it even more, but that's how they find out and keep track of where these birds are and all that, and what kind of birds they are and the whole works, and that's how they can keep track of all that. Okay, let me get back up here. Okay, we're going to give Bob a chance to talk. So, Bob?
After you fill that bag out, just leave it on Roger's desk and he'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I passed out some information. It came from the Bonanza magazine. It's kind of informative. It's a self-test. I apologize that on some of the reproductions it's a little bit on the dark side. But what it talks about is how up to date in risk management are you in regards to flying and not flying. So, and some people come out and they say, well, I need my 3 landings for in 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. It's going to tell you where you're going to be in regards to what position are you to create an accident, or what position are you to not create an accident. And I thought it was a very interesting. So if those people don't have one, see me afterwards and I'll pass those that I have out. Or if the reproduction is a little bit on the dark side, I can give you another one here. I just want to cover a couple things. We've been talking about covers on the aircraft and cleaning of aircraft. Don't forget, what you clean is for the next individual. If the person in front of you left it dirty, you're going to sit and complain. On some of the covers on the T-41s, you need to get up and look at the strap. Don't just start pulling on the strap. We've lost some of the button snaps off of them. Be very cautious on that. They have to be reset. If there's a maintenance problem and what have you, there's a phone number. It's always on the door. We just print it up on a weekly basis for either the clearing officer or my name's on there 24/7. Call somebody so that we can understand what the problem is and maybe get it curtailed for the next flight. I realize that sometimes on the weekends it may be a little difficult, but a lot of times I can come out and do something. If David's working here, he can do it, but we can get it corrected in a shorter period of time if you at least leave a message for someone versus a little sticky note that we see maybe Monday or Tuesday when we open up the folders. So we just need to help us out. I want to review membership. We have a family program. So it's husband and wife, or husband and daughter, husband and son. I should say father and son, father and daughter. $45 for the 2 of you per month. And it's a little bit of a reduction. And those people who are in the program, like the Gebhardts, will get a reduction in regards to that. And it's open to family members. That's where we're going to start. Maybe expanded at a reduced rate for each additional family member that joins. Financial review. The club is really struggling at this particular time. We've had some dire maintenance. We've had contracts that were canceled after 6 weeks in September, unbeknownst to me. And when we started to remove the engines for overhaul, we had to go back to the console again for approval. So we've got the 182 shipped, the engine on that one, and the next thing you know, it's on hold while it sits back in Oklahoma. Went out of sequence in regards to getting approval. They came back and approved it. Now we're just waiting for the approval out of headquarters, but I believe that's been done. So the contract should be written this week, and the engine is being worked on at the present time. So it's going to be another 6 to 7 weeks idealistically. In the meantime, 5.7 is down for an engine. It's sitting on the floor, and we can't do anything with that one since that one was canceled until the next council meeting, which will be near the 1st of May. So there are some issues in regards to scheduling. I guess in some cases it's my mistake for not scheduling properly, and I do have to apologize on that, but for trying to take and remedy those issues there. So in the meantime, the club is about a minus 12,000 for the year, and at the present rate we're going to be really struggling by the time September comes, even though we're looking forward to good weather and getting the airplanes back up for the membership. 5.3 is back online. 5.6 we'll find on 5.6 will be we'll get the final report. Correct me, David, if I'm wrong. Maybe by Thursday afternoon to see where we're starting on that. Both of those have had to have eddy current inspections on some parts and some die penetrates to comply with the AMOCs in regards to the wings and the landing gear on the T-34s. So we'll have more information for those people who want to rent them and use them this weekend. And as soon as we get the information, I'll get on the phone and make phone calls. One of the things I'm having...
Bob, he was trying to say something back there.
Say all the AMOCs are complete now. We just got to put the flaps back on, the canopies together. We're working on the paperwork now. We should have the annual signed off. Should be ready next week. I don't think it's going to be before Thursday. I hope it's trying for it, but it doesn't look like it.
Okay, just keep me informed. Like I said, when we find out, we'll do it. So that has to be signed off by certain individuals.
Tom coming in until Monday.
Yeah. One of the things that was brought to my attention today is a bent tow bar. The only way you can take and bend a tow bar is to turn the aircraft until the nose wheel hits the stop and then continue to pull on it. If you're pulling on it, you're going to cause damage. And then David G gets kind of ticked off. You should not be able to go to the stop and then keep trying to pull and turn the wheel if it's at the stop. So when you bend the tow bar, you've put a lot of pressure on that thing trying to turn the wheel, and it's not going anywhere. All you're going to do is take that shimmy dampener and bend something or create damage to it, and then when you're going down the runway, the whole nose gear shimmies. That means that we're either going to have to take and purchase a new one, and if I have to replace anything for the T-34 and we can't do an overhaul on the old ones, you're looking at anywhere from $800 to $1,000, $1,100 for a snubber just for the nose wheel. So all these costs are very pertinent to the Aero Club and how it's going to survive. So just be cautious when you're pushing these things around, because I've now used a hammer to get the tow bar fairly well straight using the rails outside the club. Don't forget, for 2-9 and 15 Foxtrot, all the instructors are available to keep those students in tune, and those that want to come back and get started for recurrency, the instructors are available. The longer hours that we have now getting into the summer months are the fun hours to fly an aircraft. Taking off at 6 o'clock and getting back at dusk at 8 o'clock is just great. It's a nice time of the evening to really fly and have fun with the aircraft. So just give that some thought. If you're going to cancel a flight, even though we have weather, make sure you call the Aero Club. By the SOPs, we have the right to take and notify you even though we have bad weather. We haven't done this, but if someone hasn't notified us, we do have the right to take and add 15 minutes to your charge, and I'd hate to do that. We've been awful good. We haven't done that in probably about 6 years, and I really don't want to start doing that at all. How many people still hold the paper medical license in our wallets? When did they expire?
You mean license?
Or the pilot's license. I beg your pardon. Pilot's license. In the paper. The paper pilot's license. If you have one of those, you're illegal to fly. They expired on the extension of March 31st. So you go on the website, send them your $5 or $10, whatever it is, and they'll mail you out the hard card, and now you're legal again.
Now, you guys that have the student pilot's licenses, that's still okay.
Yeah.
But for your third class.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just those that already have the private, commercial, or ATP licenses. You got to have the plastic nowadays. So, any questions? And I think the test you'll find is intriguing, and have fun.
everybody knows taking tests is fun.
By the way, this was left in 6/6 November. Is anybody listing a current Los Angeles sectional?
I must
I'm just asking. If not, we'll put it back in the pot and let someone use it.
Okay, how many are aware that we did go up to $30 a month for our dues? I hope that some of you are, because I took it out of your account this week. So, and Bob announced having that if you have a family, we have a family plan, and for Janelle and David, it went down $5. So that worked out for them. But if you so desire, you can pay for the whole year, or you can pay 3 payments over the year of $100. So either way, we have about 3-4 people that did that so far.
You get a break at $25 a month if you pay by the year.
Yeah, if you pay by the whole year, then it's still $25 a month for you. So it's just kind of an incentive for you to do that, and there's a lot of pros and cons. One, of course, it's cheaper for the year. Number 2, it gets it out of the way. You don't even have to think about it. Of course, the way we run our dues, you don't really have to think about it too much anyhow. I just take the money out. I'm the one that has to work hard to do that. So let's see. Any questions? Remember, for those of you who are still qualified in the airplane, but you're coming up to like your annual check ride for the club or a BFR, where you're still haven't ran out of your time, Fred can still do that. Even though he's doesn't have the medical, he can do that as an instructor. He can give you your annual check ride for the Aero Club and or the BFR. So remember that. Okay, let's see. There, we know where the bird strike kit is now, right? Right? Okay. All right, and real quick, we'll be done here in a few minutes. Man, it's just 7:40. All right, know your SOPs. We do this. We kind of run over it just real quick, and what it is we just go through the whole SOP, and then we just start all over again and just kind of go through it. We're still under student pilot procedures. However, like I have down at the note down at the bottom down there is, although this is a student procedure, it also applies to all pilots. I mean, most of this stuff that's here is just common sense items of things that you should be doing anyhow as a regular. I don't care if you got 10,000 flying hours, you should still be doing this. Securing the aircraft. Use the checklist as appropriate. Use your checklist to clean up the airplane, get the thing, put to bed at night, refuel. Here it says we have to introduce you to procedures for refueling. Well, most of the students, you're pretty much familiar with it by the time you get to the point of soloing. For the rest of you guys, we are due to have another safety meeting on refueling the airplanes. There are some things that we need to talk about. And one of those is standing down, especially on the Cessna, standing up on that ladder and refueling the airplane. There is always a fall danger in that. There's some other things we need to talk about. So one of the safety meetings we're going to be coming up with is talking just specifically on refueling the airplanes. Malcolm.
Roger, the aircraft windscreen and leading edges will be cleaned with pledge. Not for the T-34s. They've got to spend 20 minutes under that belly and get that nose gear cleaned out to clean the parts that the maintenance has to go in. And the grease on the bottom of all of them, it'll just eat the paint if you don't get it cleaned off.
Yeah.
So the leading edge of the wing, that's for the Cessnas, not for the T-34s.
Well, right, yeah. Well, this is a general, like I said, this is, the actual thing is aimed towards the student. However, we are talking about you guys too. And thanks for bringing it up, Malcolm. Yeah, that's...
Roger, one other point. If you go out there and fly, and I always look underneath before I fly. I haven't done it yet, but the other guys we're all saying the same thing. If we go out there and look under there and that thing is not clean, the prior pilot's going to get a phone call and they owe us a lunch. I mean, it's getting ridiculous how many times we've gone out there, have to spend an extra half hour trying to clean that extra layer of grease off. So
Well,
phone
I know,
calls will be made, and any of you that fly the T-34, if you go out there and it's not clean, find out who flew it the time before and call them up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, it's already happened a few times. There's a few guys in here that's gotten a phone call. So, especially George. George will call him up right now. So, you don't want to make him mad, okay? He's a former DI, so he knows how to yell. Okay. Park the aircraft in the appropriate space you departed from. Try to get it back to the same place that you pulled it out of. The 182, when it is flying, it's that one closest to the tank because that plane is heavy. And of course the T-34s go back down on that south side of the tank. And they're pretty heavy too. And they're hard to handle. If you have a hard time trying to park that airplane by using the tow bar, don't be afraid to come in there and find out if there's somebody in the office to help you. I've been in there and I've seen guys really struggle with it, and I'm like going, man, unless you want the exercise. I mean, it does give you a lot of exercise. So, ensure the aircraft is tied down, chocked, canopy covers installed, and control locks installed before leaving the immediate area. How can you tell that you did not install the control lock when you walk away and you turn around and look at the airplane? Yeah, say it out loud.
The elevator's down.
Yeah, the elevators will be down like this. And when you walk in the door and you look back and you go, oh. Yeah. So now you got to go back out there and put the control lock in. Very important, especially when we have the Santa Anas come up. It's something we don't want to have happening. In the Air Force, in the 141, if the winds blew, I can't even remember now, it was like if it was over 20 knots and the flight controls, there used to be a hydraulic lock, but the hydraulic locks, when the airplane was getting older, would leak, and so they wouldn't work anymore. And if the ailerons were moving back and forth in the winds, then they had to have a complete check on all the aileron hinge plates and everything on the airplane. And it was a write-up in the forms. So in our airplanes, it can get pretty bad out there. We've seen it. Bob and I have stood there and watched with the Santa Ana winds, and man, even with the control lock in there, everything's just tweaking. You can see it. So, any questions on this?
Actually, we've had in high winds, even during a thunderstorm, we've had tie downs break loose off the T-34. One aircraft was spun over 270 degrees. So you got to make sure that you've got it chocked and that the ties and the chains really aren't too loose, but they've got to remain loose. We have to work on that a little bit.
These airplanes are getting old, and they still get a little beat up, but we want to take care of them as much as we can. Okay, this is just, I put this up here every safety meeting. This is our instructors. Like I said, Fred down at the bottom down there, he can still do the T-34, and he can do pilot and command. Any airplane that he can do the check rides for the Aero Club and or the biennial flight review. If you do a biennial flight review with Fred, I'd study. Because Fred he takes it very seriously, and Fred he's good at it. He can ask some questions you never thought about before.
And he's really mean.
And he is mean too, yeah. But that's just his voice. He just talks. Okay, 35 Foxtrot. That is one of our airplanes, believe it or not. It sits in the hangar now, but it really is an airplane. David is trying to get it back together again. Hasn't flown in what? How many years now? It's been at least 5, yeah. 6. This was the airplane where the guy in the club, he flew it on across country, and he was in New Mexico, and he checked the winds. Everything worked out, you know, he looked at it, the winds were coming right down the runway. Oh, great, man, I can just go right on out there and take off, no problem. The only thing is, he forgot that he had to get from point A to point B. In other words, he had to get from the parking spot he was at out to that runway to take off on that runway. The winds were gusting, I don't remember, Fred, they were gusting pretty good. And he taxied out there, and just as he was trying to turn to get onto the runway, the right wing, the wind just hit that right wing and just took that airplane right on up. Well, as the airplane's coming up, he hits the brakes, and the plane just did its thing, you know, like a 3 tricycle gear will do. And it went over on the left wing and prop strike, which Fred and I went out there, and along with our mechanic, and we had to change the engine, and the guy had to pay for, at least for the flight back, and that was a situation that was kind of embarrassing for him. And fortunately, the FAA didn't push anything because he knew that being an aero club, and plus the fact, one thing that the guy did do correctly is that when the plane was up on its side like that, he got out and he took a whole bunch of pictures of it. And that seemed to satisfy the FAA, because they says, okay, this guy, you know, at least he took pictures of it. And besides that, being an Air Force Aero Club, he knew that Fred would take care of it. That was before Bob took over. But anyhow, the airplane, it was a good airplane. So anyhow, any questions? Okay, I can't think of anything else.
I had one thing just in my mind here, and I just forgot what it was.
Yeah, I know. I was sitting right there while Heather was up here, and I was thinking of something, and then I couldn't think of it.
Education of dementia.
Credit cards?
Yeah. Most of you guys are doing really good as far as, you know, credit cards, but we do have a high volume of rejects on the dues. So, you know, it's one of those things that I know that you guys, you know, it's not because you guys are, you know, being derelict or nothing like that. It's because most of the time you'll, either one or two things will happen. Either your expiration date goes past and you just forget to tell me, or you got your card compromised somewhere along the thing and you got a new card and then you forget to tell me. And I do have a list here of people that have had cards reject now going on 3 months. So there's a couple of you I do need to see. I think that's it. Since it's 9 minutes to 8. I could push it more, but I won't. Oh yeah, don't read the April safety grant too. It's excellent. It tells you what is an aero club, and it's actually really good. We gave one to our boss, Mrs. Alexander, and she was impressed by it because she has no understanding of what we are as a club here. Absolutely none. And Bob, along with Bob explaining more to her, me explaining more to her, and this safety gram, she's getting a little bit more of a picture of what the aero club is all about. And then, oh yeah, watch the NOTAMs on the runway. You know, with the construction out there, it changes. So just keep your eyes on the NOTAMs.
Yeah, the NOTAMs for 30 are changing consistently off of Charlie and down on Alpha to Bravo. They're still working on the lighting system for the runways, putting in the LED lights. So it will change daily. I may get a phone call in the morning saying that 30 is closed, and you'll have to do runway 32 or 12, whatever it's going to be. As another reminder, May 18th, there will be an air show at Redlands Airport. Chris Davis is going to be the air boss there. I'm working with him. If you're flying into Redlands and you're landing from the east, which is the normal runway during the day, I've been with the State of California Director, Mr. Brown, in regards to a dirt pile that some people have seen and some people have not seen in the pond. It's out of compliance with the environmental impact report, and that's what I'm trying to get the city to put in a cease and desist order on that. But the mound of dirt was basically at a 100-foot elevation on your altimeter. Your wingtip was a beam it and almost level with the wingtip. That mound of dirt, they've cut it down, lies about 100 feet from the center line of the runway or less.
Wow.
So if you're going to go in there, just stay on the high side and just be aware you'll see some of it cut down. It's in the clearway. The clearway is 20-to-1 by the rules from the FAA under the AC 150. It's 20-to-1 and they do not comply with the 20-to-1 slope because Karen McDonald from Los Angeles, this is her division here, claims that it's only 45 feet above the ground. Well, unfortunately, on GPS I measured that the ground level between there and touchdown is 60 feet. So that puts that at about 100 feet, doesn't it? This is how the FAA thinks. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. But just be aware of some of the safety areas that you're going to be flying in and out of, especially now during the summer months. As you know, that the towers have been put on delay. It's all politics. All those towers that were being closed are high volume towers. You notice that San Bernardino, which has a contract also, is not a high volume tower, and yet it remains open. It's the Riverside, Ramona, Fullerton, all in high areas. Whiteman out in Van Nuys. It's all politics. And then also the other one is Executive out of Sacramento, which takes all the jet traffic for the legislatures going in and out of Sacramento. So just be aware, right now there's a delay. It looks like they may have second thought on it. When you look at contract towers, we're basically a contract tower, even here at March. 14% of the FAA budget covers contract towers. 28% of all air aviation is covered by contract towers, and yet 45% of the budget is being removed from contract towers by the Obama administration. So there's a big issue. It's a big fight. It's just like the sequester with the military and all their stuff. Just be aware. Thank you.
Okay, next meeting is 21 May, and we'll see you there, if not before. I hope to see you before, so I can take you.